Subscribe right now and hit the bell. Then you won't miss a chapter. And give the show a like. Comment with any thoughts and questions, and I will be happy to chat with you. Thanks for helping out this independent author.
The Web. Rachel woke slowly as the sunlight gently caressed her face. She suddenly realized Josh was no longer on the sofa. Had she been so tired that she didn't wake from his rising movements? She called out for him, but there was no answer. She began to worry as she looked around the unfamiliar house, calling his name. Maybe he passed out and hurt himself. Rachel then remembered that Josh had said something about knowing what to do now. The shop would be the logical place to look, and so she headed that way. To her surprise, the door opened for her as she approached the wall with the beautiful garden mural. "Rachel!" Josh exclaimed. She was glad to see him as well, and was surprised when he rushed to hug her with such vigor. "I am so happy you're here with me. Thank you for watching over me yesterday," he went on. "Now, you have perfect timing, and we have so much to do." Rachel responded with excited confusion. "You're welcome, but what in the world are you talking about?" Almost bursting, Josh grabbed her by the hand to pull her to the monitor as he explained. "I will explain, and there is so much to tell you. But first, let me introduce you to Mr. McClure." Josh had been working in the shop for almost a week straight, and Rachel had come over after school every day. Now, on Saturday evening, she was here again working at the computer while Josh paced around deep in thought. He could tell she was having trouble taking it all in, like maybe she didn't quite know what to think of him anymore. They still didn't even really know exactly what they were trying to build, but she was still here with him, for him, through it all, and that was something. Josh had a thought and walked over to a table where he shuffled through his papers of schematics but found nothing he was looking for. Frustrated, he asked, "Hey, McClure, we have clearly laid out everything from my download, and I don't see it. What is this supposed to be? What are we building?" McClure's response was simple and called Josh out. "I have already told you. Haven't you read my memoirs that Mr. Greenwich gave to you?" Josh realized his fault with embarrassment and answered quietly, "Oh, right. Those. Not all of it yet." McClure said calmly, "Josh, I will not do it for you, because you can do this. Just follow through with what you have. You have everything you need. Just take each step one at a time as it becomes illuminated. And yet, you are not alone. I am here with you to help along the way. And you too, Rachel." They quickly found the book of memoirs in Josh's moving boxes that were still mostly unpacked. He turned to Rachel and said, "It's been a long day. Why don't you go get some rest while I do the reading I should have done a long time ago?" She looked at him, obviously tired, and nodded her head. He grabbed both her hands in his and with a heartfelt look said, "You've been so amazing coming to help me every day, and I really appreciate it. Having you here for me, I mean." He perked up and went on, "Plus, you've got your graduation coming up on Friday, and then you start your summer internship at the EGO. Rachel, that's so awesome for you." She gave him a big, tight hug and spoke softly in his ear. "Thank you." She leaned in and kissed him sweetly on the cheek and began to walk out. "Talk to you tomorrow," she called out as she exited the door. Josh sat down on the elegant sofa with a book in one hand and a fresh sandwich in the other. He was ready to find out what he was missing. He began to read the memoirs again, starting from the beginning. But this time as he read, unlike the first, understanding flowed through him, and thus excitement did too. Every section he finished urged him on to read more and more furiously. The years of work and detailed sketches that Mr. M had written out would take some real time to absorb. He jumped into it and read for a long, long time. Josh awoke with a start, having been slumped over on the sofa as his wrist phone rang. He tapped the screen to answer. "Josh, how's it coming?" Rachel's pretty voice came through. "Oh, I must have knocked out while I was reading," Josh said. "But it's amazing, Rachel. I read for hours, and I can't believe I discounted it so easily and just stopped the first time I tried to read it. What a fool I was." She came back. "Well, you're reading it now. So, did you find it? The key to what we're building?" Josh spoke excitedly. "Well, I'm on the path to it, I think. But I need to finish reading all of this to get the big overall picture of what Mr. M was doing and what he wanted to fully get across. I'll keep reading. Can you come over this evening?" "Sure, I'll see you this evening," she said and hung up the phone. "I've got it," he blurted out as Rachel walked in the front door. She looked at him with hope and said, "You know what it is? What we're making?" He held up a page in the book and said excitedly, "It's a kind of biochip that would essentially work like a computer's wireless internet card, but one adapted to sync with and transmit the neural signals of the human brain. I'm sure of it, Rachel. It's the only thing that makes any sense." Rachel's eyes widened in understanding. "Yes, that makes perfect sense. I can't believe I didn't see it. Minds could be connected like... She paused, trying to think of the words. Josh cut in. "Like a web," he said in a matter-of-fact tone. "A worldwide web of human minds." "Amazing," she said. "Just think, no more need for telecommunications or emails, but just instant connection to each other." "Yeah, pretty crazy, right?" Rachel, thinking out loud, softly said, "The whole world could change in ways impossible to predict, and it may be not necessarily all good." "Well," Josh said with a contemplative smile, "you have an important point to consider, and I was thinking about that too. I mean, the magnitude of change that this could bring would be huge, and this begs the question, just because it can be done, does that mean it should be done?" She responded with a thoughtful look. "True, and there are people that I would have no desire to have that kind of connection with. I mean, this is basically telepathy we're talking about here." Josh paused briefly in thought and then smiled and said, "Yep, let's get started," faking as though he was done with this deep conversation. Then he continued, "For real though, you bring up some valid points, but we need to consider that the source of this information is McClure, and I think I can trust him. And I'm sure we can go about this in a wise and responsible way." "I understand," she replied, slightly pausing before going on. "I know what you're saying, but we need to think this through ourselves too, and not just jump into this because McClure said so. How do we go about experimenting on people's brains in a morally responsible way? And if this thing works but then has devastating effects, then we are to blame too, not just McClure." "Well, you bring up some important points that I was thinking about as well," said Josh understandingly. Then realizing they could consult with McClure easily enough right there in his room, he asked, "McClure, what do you think about all this?" McClure's response came back quickly, yet with the confidence and clarity of having thought this type of thing out long ago. "You are right. There is always a moral question that must be thought out for any invention, or for that matter, any large-scale change to the world. Think of the written word, for example. How much damage to humanity has been done through fallacious ideas and views that have been spread through books? Or guns. How many deaths have been a result of guns?" Rachel responded vehemently, "Yes, exactly. That's what I mean." "And yet," McClure continued, "are not these things merely simple and lifeless tools that only do exactly what a person does with them? The written word is just as powerful to bring truth to the masses as it is lies. A gun can help to feed a starving man, honorably defend the innocent, or commit murder. Any new tools that we bring to the world simply have the power for change, both for honorable and also dishonorable uses. And rest assured, history tells us that both results have always been accomplished with any new invention. The moral inventor must, for every invention, weigh out the possibilities for the advancement of honorable use versus the ability for humanity to mitigate the dishonorable use. And this choice is really up to the inventor and the laws of the land, of course. But I propose that ultimately the responsibility lies solely and firmly on the shoulders of the one who dishonorably uses a given tool, and not on its creator at all. Should not a murderer that pulls the trigger of a gun to commit their heinous crime be held solely responsible, and not the manufacturer or the original inventor? Of course, and this is how we see criminal laws laid out as well." Josh jumped in. "Right, so an inventor with good intent should always feel free to move forward." McClure paused for effect before going on. "Yet, in some fields, especially medicine, biology, and genetics, it is well known that it is not so black and white where guilt should lie. If a medicine is distributed that has disastrous effects, then the manufacturer, no matter its good intent, is held responsible. And then there is the argument that any such tampering in humanity is ultimately playing God, and therefore should never even be done at all." Josh responded, "Oh, I guess you're right. It's not very clear and easy at all. So what do we do? Never create anything for fear of hurting someone?" McClure commented, "First, you must be at ease within yourself about the intended purpose of the invention. It is also important to have a healthy fear of causing damage. That is why every industry now has pretty well-defined methods for safe experimentation and requires consent by those involved. I think you can move forward, You'll just need expertise and proper facilities to do it right. Rachel spoke now. Yeah, that's a good point. We just have to take proper precautions. Then Josh spoke up again. But this will take a biology lab and resources I don't have here. We'll have to start the search right away.
Be sure to share the show with friends and write an Amazon review. Get the entire audiobook right now. Go to sa.vanderwerf.com to get it at an extremely discounted price. To receive the free ebook and my wallpaper book cover image, just sign up for the newsletter at sa.vanderwerf.com. Then you can be notified for the release of the anticipated sequel to The Man Who Made Himself. Thanks so much and enjoy the gifts.